Chapter 1. Introduction to the Characters and Setting. Setting. The 1920s, a period of extravagance, ambition, and cultural change in the United States. This was a time when wealth and power were seen everywhere. Cities like New York and Chicago became the centers of opulence, with lavish parties, luxury cars, and glamorous silk dresses. However, behind this perfect exterior lay a society filled with ambition and secrets no one dared to face. Main character. Evelyn Harper, a beautiful and charming woman, is the only daughter of the Harper family, a wealthy and influential family. Born into an environment of luxury, Evelyn was always pampered and carefully taught how to be the perfect woman in high society. With fair skin and sparkling eyes, she embodied classical beauty. Yet inside this perfect exterior, Evelyn often felt an emptiness she couldn't explain. Starting situation. One summer morning, as the soft sunlight filtered into Evelyn's bedroom, she awoke in a dreamy state. Before her eyes appeared an image of a rose, but not the usual vibrant bloom. This rose was wilting, its petals dry and withered, yet it retained a special beauty, as if it held a mysterious meaning. This image puzzled Evelyn, as if something important was waiting for her, but she couldn't understand what it was. Supporting characters. Evelyn's family. The Harper family is always prominent in high society, with Evelyn's father being a successful businessman who relentlessly strives to increase his power and influence. Evelyn's mother, a gentle but strong-willed woman, has firm views on how to live and the expectations she holds for her daughter. Though their relationship is not always perfect, Evelyn strives to maintain the image of the perfect daughter in the eyes of her family. Marjorie. Marjorie is Evelyn's best friend from childhood, a lively and passionate girl. Though from a more modest background, Marjorie always helps Evelyn see life in a different way, and at times, she is the only one who can make Evelyn break free from the strict rules her family has set for her. The tycoons. These wealthy and powerful figures in American society will play a significant role in the story. They are not only the ones who create the lavish environment in which Evelyn lives, but also those who have a strong influence on the decisions and path Evelyn will face in the future. Encounters and relationships with these tycoons will lead to turning points in her life. With these characters, the story begins to reveal the darker and mysterious sides of the world Evelyn lives in, as well as the dreams and ambitions she has yet to discover. Chapter 2. The Encounter with Jack Miller. Main situation. One late afternoon, as the golden hues of the setting sun reflected off the Brooklyn Bridge, Evelyn found herself standing by the railing, gazing out at the river below. The city around her buzzed with life, but she felt a strange sense of solitude. Her thoughts were interrupted when a voice called out from behind her. "Beautiful view, isn't it?" Turning, Evelyn was greeted by a man with wild, untamed hair and a look of deep contemplation in his eyes. Jack Miller, a struggling artist, was sitting on a bench near the bridge, sketching the scene before him. His clothes were simple, worn, and his appearance was far from the polished image of the men Evelyn was used to. Yet there was something captivating about him, a rawness that contrasted sharply with the polished world she lived in. Developing the relationship. Jack's warmth and genuine nature intrigued Evelyn. They struck up a conversation, beginning with the sunset and quickly transitioning to art and life. Jack spoke passionately about his craft, describing how he found inspiration in the simple things, the way light danced across the water, the curve of a tree branch, and the fleeting beauty of a single flower. Evelyn listened intently, fascinated by his perspective on life and art. In a world filled with superficial beauty, Jack's authenticity was like a breath of fresh air. As the days passed, Evelyn found herself drawn to him more and more. They began meeting frequently, often at the same spot on the Brooklyn Bridge, sharing stories, laughter, and thoughts on art and existence. Jack's words brought a new light to Evelyn's life, making her question the confines of the world she had always known. The rose symbol. One evening, as they sat together by the river, Jack turned to her with a thoughtful look. He had been sketching her for weeks, capturing the way the light played on her features. "You remind me of a rose," he said softly. "Delicate yet strong, beautiful in your own way, but with a depth that no one can truly understand. The idea of a rose, a symbol of both beauty and mystery, resonated deeply with Evelyn. She had always been seen as the perfect, elegant woman, but Jack's comparison made her feel more than just a pretty face. It was as if he saw her in a way no one else ever had, an enigma, a symbol of something greater than herself. From that day on, Jack began calling her Rose, and it became their private nickname for her. The rose was no longer just a symbol in Jack's art, but also a reflection of the complicated emotions and hidden desires Evelyn was beginning to confront. Jack's paintings, often featuring roses in various stages of bloom and decay, became a representation of Evelyn herself, and she couldn't help but feel a deep connection to the way he saw her. Through his eyes, she was more than the polished exterior her family and society expected her to be. As Evelyn and Jack's friendship deepened, so did her understanding of herself. The mysterious rose, both in Jack's art and in their conversations, began to symbolize the journey of self-discovery she was embarking on. What started as a chance encounter on a bridge was slowly becoming a turning point in Evelyn's life, leading her down a path that would forever change her.
Chapter 3: Conflict and Struggles. Family and Society. As Evelyn's relationship with Jack grew stronger, the tension within her world began to mount. Her family, particularly her father, was not pleased by the growing bond between them. The Harper family was accustomed to power, wealth, and prestige, and they saw Jack as nothing more than a poor artist, unworthy of their daughter's attention. Evelyn's mother, though more reserved, shared similar concerns. "You can't waste your time with someone like him," her father scolded one evening as they gathered in their grand living room. "He has nothing to offer you, no future, no position. You deserve better." Evelyn's life was built on expectations of wealth, marriage, and maintaining the family's social standing. The idea of being with someone like Jack, who had no claim to such status, was incomprehensible to her family. They viewed him as a distraction, a threat to everything they had worked so hard to build. "Don't let your emotions cloud your judgment," her mother added, her voice filled with concern. "You'll regret this." Despite their disapproval, Evelyn couldn't deny the connection she felt with Jack. But as pressure from her family intensified, the conflict between the life she was expected to live and the one she was beginning to desire grew increasingly difficult to ignore. Evelyn's inner struggles. Inside, Evelyn was torn. Her family's harsh words echoed in her mind, sowing seeds of doubt about her relationship with Jack. Was it possible to live a life of true happiness with someone so different from her, someone so far below her social class? The dream of the rose, which had started as a soft, fleeting image, now began to haunt her in vivid detail. Each time she closed her eyes, the wilting petals of the rose seemed to grow more pronounced, its beauty fading away with every passing moment. Was she like that rose, once beautiful, now slowly decaying, her true self withering in the shadows of her family's expectations? As she pondered these questions, Evelyn began to withdraw into herself. The carefree woman who once enjoyed their discussions on art, life, and dreams now seemed to be a stranger to herself. The sense of mystery that had drawn her to Jack began to feel like a threat to the life she had always known. Could she truly break away from everything she had been raised to believe? The dream of the rose became more intense, almost as if it was warning her of something irreversible. Jack's conflict. Meanwhile, Jack was grappling with his own insecurities. He had always known his place in the world, an artist struggling to make a name for himself. He had never been part of the wealthy, polished circles that Evelyn belonged to, and he felt unworthy of someone like her. As their relationship grew, so did his doubts. He couldn't help but feel that Evelyn deserved someone who could offer her the life she was used to, wealth, security, and social status. He began to question whether he was enough for her, whether his love could ever truly be enough. One evening, as they sat together by the river, Jack looked at Evelyn with a sense of sadness in his eyes. "You don't belong here with me," he said softly. "You're from a world that I can't give you. You deserve so much more than this life." Evelyn, surprised by his words, reached out to him. "Jack, it's not about that. It's about who we are, about what we share. I don't care about the rest of it." But Jack pulled back, his face filled with doubt. "You don't understand. It's not just about us. It's about everything that comes with it. I don't want to hold you back. I don't want you to regret this." As the distance between them began to grow, so did the confusion and uncertainty in Evelyn's heart. The rose, once a symbol of their connection, now felt like a reminder of their differences, their worlds that were too far apart to ever truly align. The once simple bond they shared was becoming clouded with doubts, insecurities, and external pressures. What had started as a beautiful connection now seemed like an insurmountable obstacle.
Evelyn and Jack, trapped in their own fears and struggles, were now facing the reality that their love might not be enough to overcome the forces pulling them in opposite directions.
Chapter 4. The Climax. The Unexpected Change. The tension in Evelyn's life reached a breaking point when she received an unexpected package one afternoon. It was a simple wrapped box, tied with twine, but when she opened it, her heart skipped a beat. Inside was a painting of a rose. It was the same image that had appeared in her dreams, but this time, it was captured on canvas by Jack's hand. The rose in the painting was vibrant and alive, but it was surrounded by shadows, as if caught between light and darkness. Beneath the image was a message written in Jack's familiar handwriting. "Find yourself again." The word struck Evelyn deeply. She had been so caught up in the expectations of others, in the dreams of her family and society, that she had lost sight of who she truly was. Jack, in his silent way, was urging her to rediscover herself, to break free from the constraints that had held her captive. The painting was more than just a piece of art. It was a symbol, a plea for her to reclaim her life, to no longer live in the shadows of the roles others had created for her. The turning point. Evelyn stood frozen for a moment, the painting in her hands, the words echoing in her mind. She could feel the weight of her family's expectations pulling her in one direction, and Jack's silent call for freedom pulling her in another. The decision she had been avoiding for so long was now unavoidable. She had to choose between the life she had always known and the possibility of something real, something meaningful with Jack. That night, as her family sat down to dinner, Evelyn made her choice. Her father, as usual, discussed business plans and family matters with an air of authority, while her mother cast expectant glances at her, as if waiting for Evelyn to fulfill her role. But Evelyn couldn't ignore the pull inside her any longer. "I'm leaving," she said quietly, her voice trembling but resolute. Her father looked at her, his expression hardening. "Leaving? Where do you think you're going?" "To find myself," she replied, her eyes steady. "To find the life I've been dreaming of." Her mother's face faltered with concern. "Evelyn, you can't be serious. You're throwing everything away for someone like him?" Evelyn's heart raced, but she stood firm. "I'm not throwing anything away. I'm choosing something else." Without waiting for another word, Evelyn stood up and walked out of the room. As she left the house, the door closing softly behind her, she felt both the weight of her family's rejection and the exhilaration of taking control of her own life. Evelyn's journey. The next few days were a blur of uncertainty and excitement. Evelyn followed the clues in her dreams, the images of the rose guiding her through the city, leading her to places she had never visited before. She sought out the locations Jack had often spoken of, quiet corners of the city, art galleries where his work was displayed, and even the small, cramped studio where he painted his masterpieces. With each step, Evelyn felt herself becoming more in tune with who she was meant to be, away from the constraints of her family's wealth and social expectations. Finally, after following a trail of whispers and memories, Evelyn arrived at a secluded park near the river. It was the place where Jack often went to escape, to find peace and inspiration. As she walked through the park, her heart pounded in her chest. She wasn't sure what she would find, or if Jack was even there, but she knew this was where she needed to be. She wandered for a while, lost in the serenity of the place, until she spotted him, sitting on a bench near the water, sketching the horizon with his charcoal pencil. He looked up, his eyes widening with surprise when he saw her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. It was as if the world had stopped, allowing them to simply exist in this one moment. Evelyn took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I came to find myself," she said softly, her voice filled with conviction. "And I found you." Jack stood up, his face filled with a mix of disbelief and hope.
Evelyn, you shouldn't be here. This is dangerous. You're risking everything. But Evelyn shook her head, her eyes shining with determination. I've already risked everything by not being here. And so in that quiet park by the river, Evelyn's journey of self-discovery truly began. She had chosen to leave behind the world she had always known, to step into the unknown and embrace the love and life she had always dreamed of. The road ahead would be difficult, but she was no longer afraid. With Jack by her side, she felt ready to face whatever came next. The rose, both in her dreams and in Jack's art, was no longer a symbol of something lost. It was a symbol of her rebirth, a new beginning in a life that was truly her own. Chapter 5. The Ending and Awakening. The ending. After a long and challenging journey, Evelyn finally found Jack in a small rose garden, the place they had promised to meet. The soft light of the setting sun created a warm and peaceful atmosphere. Jack stood there, silent, but his eyes were filled with anticipation. Evelyn walked closer, surrounded by the blooming roses, creating a perfect picture. She looked into Jack's eyes, and without words, they both understood that their love for each other was not just attraction, but a deeper connection that had overcome many obstacles. Jack took her hand and whispered his vow. "I will always be by your side, no matter how difficult it gets." Evelyn smiled and gently nodded. "And I will always trust you, no matter how the world changes." They embraced under the starry sky, and in that moment, all worries and fears faded away, leaving only love and understanding between them. The awakening. The dream of the roses that Evelyn had once seen was now a reality. She realized that the roses were not just a vision in her dream, but a symbol of hope, perseverance, and eternal love. These roses had foretold the path she would walk, a path filled with challenges, but also full of opportunities for growth. Evelyn had awakened. She understood that to experience true love, it was not just about dreaming, but also about having the courage to face difficulties, to accept and to learn from mistakes. This awakening helped her rediscover herself, stronger, more confident, and ready for the good things ahead. The lesson. True love is not just a burning desire. It is also the courage to overcome all obstacles. To build a lasting love, we must have patience, accept and love ourselves, as well as accept our partner with all their strengths and weaknesses. Love is a journey of learning and growth, a lesson that helps us become better people, more loving and understanding.